everyone. We are live today with Andy Hobday, George Essling, and myself, Tim Smikowski. And we are talking about Barron's War, the rules, and we wanted to address a lot of the questions and topics that we've seen that people have posted in the Barron's War rules Facebook group. So we thank you for taking the time to post those questions. And before we begin, how's everybody? How are you guys doing over there?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm well.
Sorry, I'm really good. I was trying to do two things at once there, so I'm on the typing tonight. So I was trying to type and answer you at the same time, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you, Tim. I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully, we can clear some stuff up as it's early days, and help people get their teeth into it all.
Right. Well, before we go deeper into the conversation, we are currently recording this live as a video format, but this will also be used for a podcast. So we'll do our best to remember that all of our hand gestures you can't see while you're listening. So
what you're saying, Tim, is no visual gags, though. Yeah.
No visual gags.
No visual gags. Okay.
So a lot of things. The rules are. I love reading the rules. They're great. And one of the first things that got my attention, I think it was probably the first or second page within the rules, was your intention that you stated that these rules are not a historical set of rules. Can you expound on that, please?
Yeah, I think I said they're not historically dogmatic, is what I said. I think that people need to understand that first and foremost, I'm a gamer. So what I like to do is play fun games and enjoyable games. And that will always trump history because I'm more of an armchair historian. So I'd like to think I'm quite well read on this period. But the number one focus for when we were developing and I was writing these rules was to make it a really good, fun set of rules. So that's always going to trump everything else. However, if you are an historian and you want to play these rules really historically and stick to how it is, you can do that too. You just, as I'm sure we'll talk about later, but you can structure your retinue to be really accurate and the abilities you choose to be very accurate. So hopefully it's a bit of the visual gag here with my hands in the air waving around already. Hopefully there's quite a sliding scale of how you can play these rules, and it will cover off whatever anybody wants to do. But if you are painfully historically minded, you may not find what you want, but I think you could make it what you want. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. I think if you remove the mental blocks that this is supposed to be a historical game.
Yes.
And build and play with the miniatures from Barron's War. Then you're fine. And before we started the show, George made a very good point to mention that one figure represents one man.
Yes.
So at that level, it's a very skirmish. It's a skirmish game, right, George?
Yep. It's not like a scaled down battle. It is just 20, 30 blokes attacking 20, 30 other blokes in a forest or a town or wherever they clash swords.
Yeah. Yes. I think also that happened a lot. So the idea is that it's a skirmish for land, or it's a skirmish between rival barons or lords, who will have some mercenaries and their own men. And then as it scales up, what you'll have is when you have more people, more warriors per side, that would become, where it's a bigger engagement. But hopefully the rules will allow you to play a lot smaller game.
from my understanding, at the heart of Barons War rules is the retinue. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen a lot of the questions that I've seen regarding the set of rules is, how do I start? How do I begin and build my retinue?
Yes. Yeah, it seems to be something we're asked quite a lot. I put up a poll the other day about, because we desperately want to make some videos, and we're all geared up. You can, oh yeah, look, all this gear here is big C clamps, so we can do some over table shots and make some really cool videos for the game. But unfortunately, I bought all the gear in, and yes, I have no idea, but I bought all the gear in to shoot some videos that we can share about the Barons War, and then we went into lockdown. And then every time we wanted to come out of lockdown to shoot some videos, we got all kind of like geared up to shoot them, and then we went into lockdown again, and then we're in lockdown again at the moment. So I promise, once we come out of lockdown and we can set it up and we can do some shooting, we will shoot some really informative video. That's something I really want to do and stick it on the website. What I will try and do, and this is linking back to the question about retinue, I will, if my wife allows me to, I'm sure she will, which is really good, I will set up on my dining room table and get it all set up and leave it for a couple of days. And I will shoot some video on how to build a retinue, do a few basic turns with some small groups so people can get a feel of how the game plays. And they will be really simple and dirty videos just to show people, and then we'll go back and we'll do some good ones. But yes, I think we do need to do something around building a retinue, because it is the biggest question we've been asked. When we looked at this, what I wanted to do was give people some freedom around building their force. So we didn't really put in too many dogmatic rules around what you must do. So a unit size really is either 2 cavalry or 3 infantry. So if you're going to have a unit of dudes on horsebacks, you start at 2, and then it can be as big as you want, but you have to bear in mind the coherency rule will only let you have so many, and that's the same as infantry, so you can start at 3, and again, the coherency rule will only let you have so many. And the idea of that is, so they didn't fight really rank and file, they fought in like blobs, amorphous blobs, and we wanted to have that feel. So you're building groups of people. That's the whole idea of it. Sorry, go on, George.
Yeah, that also ties back into what we spoke about first with the skirmish game and the scale of the battles. Is the idea is you build the force is your baron or lord or whoever you may choose. It's his like household guard and the men that he can muster. So it's not going to be, I've got 20 guys in this formation, 20 guys in this formation. He might have a few household knights traveling with him, and his retainers, few men at arms. It's not like a pitched battle.
No, and again, this is what gives you the variables, because talking historically, most people had the same sort of troops. So there were spearmen, bowmen, crossbowmen, knights, that kind of thing. So we had to mix it up in a way to make the game strategical. So by allowing people to have different sized groups with different types of leaders in those groups, and also having different levels of experience, that starts to make everybody's retinue different. So, it's that old adage, isn't it, where I think where people want to play, and it's not the Barons War, but they want to play Vikings against Vikings, like kind of war bands. And most of the time, you both turn up with the same Viking war band, right. And I understand why that's done, because games are structured around the factions. And what we wanted to do was structure the game around the player. So when you choose your retinue and you build your retinue, it should be the retinue that you want to play with. So you know, it might be painful to play. You know, you've chosen this side that you like the look of, and it might not play very well. But then, you know, by playing some games, you'll get the experience and change what you're going to do. But the whole idea of this is to allow you to build a retinue that you really you really want to paint, collect, and play. And I don't want to be telling people you must have this many people in your force. You know, that the way that George and I, you know, and Mark, when we were playtesting this, and the others, you know, can manage that situation is by making the rules robust to allow people to do that. So as long as we've got the mechanics and the way the game plays right, you should be able to take whatever you want in your retinue. That's the idea.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So saying that though, he says he's got a rule book here. There are some rules to building your retinue. If I just read them, if you've got a copy, it's on page 48. As we said, retinue composition, infantry groups must be at least 3, excluding a commander. Cavalry groups must be 2, excluding a commander. So you can add a commander into them. You must include at least 1 command group in your retinue, because obviously that's your leader. It represents, you know, you on the battlefield if you're sad like me. You can spend up to 50% of your total points on command groups. So if you're paying 500 points, you can spend up to 250 points on command groups. And that includes all the men, all the abilities, all their equipment, and the commander, and anything you add to that retinue. We'll talk about command groups in a minute. And you must spend a minimum of 10% of your retinue points on green warriors. So they're the lowest level. And the idea of that was I wanted to include this idea that there always be conscripts or people levied off the land. So in medieval periods. So I just wanted to have that kind of 10%, you know, that you would include. So that was the idea. But also bear in mind, when we're saying they've got their green warriors, not peasants or levy troops, so they could be, you know, green spearmen, etc. So they're like new recruits. And also because the Barons' War was a civil war, they were obviously rotating through people quite quickly and bringing new people in. So it's kind of trying to drive that. And that's it. So, you know, infantry, cavalry sizes, like I said, you must have 1 command group. 50% of your retinue can be command groups, up to 50%, doesn't have to be. And you must have 10% green warriors. That's it. You know, go and knock yourself out. That's, you know, how it is. Obviously, the other rule in there is we have some named characters that we have tried to make historically correct, or how I perceive them. You can only have 1 of those. So, you know, if
That's
I have
1
William,
per game, not per force.
1 per game, yeah, not 1 per force. So, you know, if William Marshall's on the table, there's only 1 William Marshall, obviously, you know. So, but really, that's it. It is really that simple. And I'm hoping from the way that we've constructed the game and the abilities and the structure we put around it, having that much freedom, you know, works.
Nellie Manser
Yeah.
has a question, which I think ties into this. A lot of times people think, okay, we have a base point system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he asked, what's a good points level to start at? So it sounds to me like a good point level would be 500 points.
Yeah, 500.
Yeah.
We play tested pretty much everything, I guess. But yeah, 500 is a nice place to start. I'd say 1,000 would be my ideal. Obviously, that's not for everybody.
That would be an average game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 1,000 is nice place to be at. Probably an hour to 2 hour game, depending on how it goes. Yeah, 500 point. If you get 1, maybe 2 command groups at a push, then you build everything else out, and you should have a nice small force.
Yeah. You're right. Aim for, you know, the idea again when we were looking at this. Aim for 500 points, because at 500 points it gives you a big enough force to be able to try all the rules and play a good game. But it also gives you a good core to then add to. because you could go 500, 600 if you wanted to, 700, but 500, 750, 1,000, and there gives you some nice painting projects to go at.
Yeah, from like a painting hobby and thematic point of view, if you build like 500 points around a barrack, like for example, I always use William de Warren as my baron. So I'd build a 500 point force his men, and then move on and do say one of his local lords, and then build say 250 points of them and plug that in, and then move on, and then step up and do another lord and do his men, and then before you know it, you've got a nice thematic force around one baron or whoever you choose, maybe the Stephen Langton or whatever. And then you'll soon build up to 1,000 points or more.
So, would you suggest then picking the leader first and building the command group around that leader?
No, I think this is what's noodling everybody's head.
Yes, that's
when it comes to building your force. What you should do is, say you want to take a group of spearmen, pick one spearman. So you work it. All the profiles are based on one figure, one miniature. So what you would do is you would say, I want this spearman. I want him to be green. We can have to check. It's terrible, isn't it? You can have green. I don't want to say you can have green.
You can have green spearman.
And then someone tells me we can't. That would be shameful. Yes, you can. Andy said, yeah. So you go in, choose your spearman, take a green spearman. They're 9 points. So and they will come with some. The first bit where it says equipment, they come equipped with what's there. So if I choose my spearman, he's a green spearman for 9 points, and for that 9 points, he comes with a spear, which gives him reach. He's got no armor, no nothing. That's how he comes. Then, if I don't want to change his equipment or do anything else to that spearman, I then decide how many spearmen I want. So say I want 6 spearmen in that unit, I then just say that's 6 figures, 6 times 9, 54. You can tell I've been homeschooling my kids all day, doing maths there.
They taught you something.
Straight off my head there with the times tables, 54 points. That group is done. If I don't want to do anything else to it, that all of a sudden there, I have 6 spearmen in a group, basic green spearmen. Done. Move on to the next one. So that's how you do it. So build one person, and then add. So then, say for instance, with that spearman, I want to give them leather or padded or mail armor. I look down and I realise because he's green, I can't, because on the right hand column it says required experience for leather or padded. They need to be irregular. If it's mail, they have to be regular. So I can't do anything else to that spearman. However, but the 54 points, if we're doing a 500 point force, that's my 10% of my green troops done straight away. So then I think, okay, I want 2 lots of spearmen. I do want to have some with leather or padded. I look up, it must be irregular. I choose 1 spearman, 12 points. So he's 12 points because he's a regular. You're paying a bit more for him. I go down, I want to add leather. And I see under the cost per warrior, you add 1 point for the leather armor. So that all of a sudden makes it 13 points. And then I think, okay, how many of those do I want? Times 13 by how many I want. And that then gives me another unit spearman of how many I've chosen. So that's how you build your building block. So just keep building your groups. So it is that simple. The options below are, you use the options below to swap out what they come with. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
if you were carrying on with the spearman, if you were to take a bill, for example, you're essentially removing the spear and adding a bill. You haven't got some crazed guy running around with a spear and a bill. I mean, it probably happened, but but yeah. So you'd swap the equipment. What they're equipped with would be replaced. And that's why you'll probably see there's a variance in points and modifiers across the warriors. It's not an error. It's because it's replacing what's already there. So, like, an example I've used is like with knights and their sword. To take, you were to replace this, their sword with a two-handed weapon. The two-handed weapon gives you an attack modifier of 2, but the sword already gives it 1. So on their profile, it'll only show the modifier as 1, because you're essentially removing the sword and adding that to their profile. So you get the same benefits and points cost. The board, it just looks different based on what equipment they already have.
Yeah. So what we're saying here is, George, swapping out for a sword or spear or whatever for different types of warriors may be a different points value, because it's calculating that bit where we're saying this is what they come with. We're replacing what they come with this new bit of equipment. So it's a sum of those two items.
Yeah. So like with the knight, their sword that they've already got is 3 points. That's already added into their profile. Yeah. The two-handed weapon is 3 points. So there's no difference in points cost to swap those two out because they're the same value. Whereas a monk who's got a hand weapon, 0 points. If they were to equip a two-handed weapon, it'd cost them 3 points because you're just swapping what they've already got.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was an actual written question. And I think the person thought that it was cheaper for the monk to have a two-handed weapon than it would be for the knight.
Yeah, no, it works out the same. It's all down to what they've already got. Essentially, a human is a human, and that's how we've built the units. So a human is the same, whether if he's got no armor or equipment. A man is a man, whether he's a knight or a monk, if he's got nothing on. But what makes him different are his equipment, his abilities, and things like that. They're all added into the points on the profile in the book.
We've talked about the cost of weapons because that kept coming up. I know that we definitely talked about the retinue, and hopefully that's answered a lot of people's questions.
I think the other thing is we talked about forming a basic group. We've not talked about command groups. And I think that's the other thing, because you're not the first one to say this, Tim, about, you get your commander and then you build his retinue around him, his group around him. It doesn't work that way. You build your groups, and then to make a command group, you add a commander. So how it works is a knight commander can lead any group. So they can lead crossbowmen, they can lead spearmen, they can lead other knights, they can lead sergeants, etc., etc. The only type of group that they can't lead is levy. They won't lead levy. So if you want to make a command group, and have your knight, first pick, one warrior. So if it's going to be your spearman again, you pick your spearman. You work out how many points how many different spearmen you want in there. So if you want 5 spearmen, that's 45 points. It's a green group. Then, and that would just be a normal group. Then you add your knight to that group. So at that point, his points are added in, and that suddenly becomes a command group because it has a commander. So by having that commander ability, it changes a normal group to a command group, and it's just that leader being in there. By them joining, what it does is it unlocks other things, which is on the commander's profile. So you can add a banner, you can add a pennant, you can add a musician, you can add a monk, a priest. You can add these different things in, and that's because it's like he brings them those with him. And how it works is we use a figure to represent those different types, but they're like abilities. So while that banner carrier is alive, while that priest is alive in the unit, those abilities are added to that command group. As soon as they're removed as casualties, they lose those abilities.
It's worth, sorry, just to add as well, like the bannermen and things aren't additional figures. They're figures in the. So you build your group of spearmen. If it's 5 spearmen and a commander, then one of those 5 spearmen becomes your bannerman when you pay that points. And when he's killed, then
So he has the same. So he'll have the same stats as a normal spearman. So, but he just has that banner ability to do commanding.
I'm glad you said that, George, because I think that was a good description. That you're not including another figure. One of the figures in the group becomes the bannerman, and you pay those.
Pay the points, yeah. It's like you're upgrading them.
Yeah.
Do we want to go into abilities at all? Any questions about it?
Yeah. So there's 2 ways you can have. Well, I think 3 ways you can have abilities. Some groups or characters have innate abilities, so they just come as part of it. So knights obviously have some. They have live by the sword, that kind of thing, and that's what makes them a knight. Then you have your commanders that will come. So sorry, go back to that. These innate abilities, like for the knights, everybody in that group will have it. So when you've created that one knight and it's got all the weapons and everything that you want, and it's got that ability, when you multiply it out, the whole group has that ability. Okay, and then you just pay, if the ability is 5 points. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. That's included in the points. That's why they're more points. If you then want to add more abilities to a group, you choose the ability that you want, and you would choose a group ability. And if that ability is 5 points, you would pay 5 points for every warrior that's in the group. So if it's a group of 5, and you want to give it an ability that is worth 5 points, that would be an extra 25 points to that group. But then everybody in that group would have that ability.
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about building a group from a single man. The way I do it when I'm building retinues is I'll add his gear and then his ability. So like with the spearman, if I wanted to give him an ability that cost 2 points, that'd make him 11, and then multiply that out. So it works the same way.
Yeah. The only difference is your commander could bring abilities. So if you're using the builder and you want to give your specific commander abilities, when he joins a command group, they don't all get those abilities. He has those abilities. Having some of those abilities may apply to his group, but they don't automatically get them. So you'd have to read each of the abilities to see what happens. So it's it can either be an ability for a group, or it can be an ability for a commander. But that's made quite clear.
Okay. I can't think of anything else from the abilities perspective that I've seen people ask questions. I don't see a couple questions about the campaign books.
Yes. Are there campaign books planned for the systems? Mortal Gods, Barons War, Modern Wars. Will there be campaign books? I'm not quite sure what that means. Extra books to add on.
Right.
There will be. I'm currently just finishing off what's become. I'll call it, and for those who are listening and not watching, Dark Ages supplement. The Dark Ages, like early medieval period. When we initially did the Barons War in its first incarnation, I wrote I planned, and George wrote army lists for Saxons, Normans, and Vikings, because they're obviously 3 factions we like to play. We were going to include them in the book, but then the book grew out to be, nearly 140 pages, and they didn't fit anymore. So I made the decision to take them out, and I've been writing the start of a supplement to go with them. So like the Dark Ages and inverted commas supplement, which will have those 3 forces in to start with, and we're going to make that free, or make it a free download. when it's done. So I'm aiming to release that at the same time as the book is released next month. So hopefully when the book comes out, we'll have a free downloadable PDF for Vikings, Normans, and Saxons, and then the idea is we'll add Welsh, Irish, Scots,
Islesman,
and then we can even start to go into the continent, and we'll just add more and more and more to that, as well as adding them for the early medieval. We'll add them for the high medieval period as well, for the Barons' War. So we'll add Irish and Welsh and Scots as well for that, and French, etc. So all of that's going to be available as downloads for free on the Warhost website. That's always been the plan. And so at some point it might grow into this tome of free downloads that we would probably take, edit, sort out, and then make a book out of. But for now, I'm more interested in people playing than keep making loads of supplements and charging people for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and perhaps he was talking about scenarios, scenario ideas and stuff.
Yes, I totally agree. The rule book comes with about 16 different scenarios in there, so you can roll those up. However, I'm not talked about it much because we're still doing Barons' War 2. We had that month. We lost a month because of the poor quality metal and the castings we ended up with them. But so I don't really want to talk about Barons' War 3. It seems a bit crass because we haven't delivered Barons' War 2. However, Barons' War 3 will be a campaign. We'll have a campaign book, a supplement based on the figures that we're going to do for Barons' War 3. So I would envisage doing more of that kind of thing, where we would do a bunch of really cool. Daniel's just said, a bunch of really cool connected scenarios that form a story. Exactly. He's obviously been looking at my notes, and the figures that we would release would be more characters, that would link into the scenario plus some extra pieces. So that's the plan. That's definitely I know it's the plan because I'm already well on the way to writing it. So that's the idea for Barons' War 3, and then we would then look to go out. At the end of Barons' War 3, I think it's enough in England for now. I think we need to go out and explore other places, because if you're thinking like 1215, the Mongol horde's coming, well over the other side, and you've got all the stuff over in the east. Why wouldn't we be exploring all, and Polish, as Jamie Trump has said? Why wouldn't we be doing all of that as well? I'd love to include all of that, and by doing that, it'll allow us to do really cool looking French knights and all of that kind of stuff. So we can start to play around with the armor. So it's got legs as long as people are interested, I guess.
Yeah, we're not short of ideas either.
Yeah.
No, talking of ideas, just going all the way back, if Phil Muscroft is still here, he says, what's your favourite Retinue theme that you've used so far? If we're talking about one that we've used or thought about while we've been play testing and building up to that, my favourite Retinue I've seen, sorry George, my favourite one so far has been Mark's one, led by King John, because when he comes on the table, everybody's booing and hissing, and it's been real fun. The way that King John plays, if you don't do what he asks you to do, he actually kills your men. He has your men killed. So on one hand, he's really good at giving orders, and you can get extra orders from him because he's the king and they want to do it. But on the other hand, if they fail their extra order test, he actually starts killing his own troops. So that was a real
lovely chap. Lovely chap.
He's a lovely chap, isn't he? And then, but Mark, for the whole period that Mark was using him, he had an entire PR campaign for King John, where it was good King John. Wasn't he George? He was good King John. And it was really fun to see what he turned up with each time with King John, because he kept adding to it, and that was a really good story. For me, I've got a couple at the moment. There's one that which I haven't shared at the moment. I'm working on around the stuff that's coming for Barons War 3. Let's call them the goodies. The goodie side. There's going to be some really cool stuff in there. The idea is that one of the background kind of story is one of the villages is a blacksmith that's come back from the Crusades. So he's set up home, and he's got a wife and kids and etc. And he was like some hero, but he's kind of retired from the Crusades. And the local sheriff is bleeding the village dry, so he goes and finds his hammer and his shield, and he defends the villages. So I'm kind of liking kind of liking the idea of that, of building that retinue at the moment, and how it's going to look in the climactic struggle, because I've just commissioned Paul to make some Templars. So I'm gonna shoehorn a small little group of Templars into there as well, who have come back from the East to recruit. So we'll be able to get them into the game as well. And with this, you can actually do that. I'm kind of like the idea of the Holy Orders. So there's some abilities in there that you can actually pull in, and you could build a group of Templars now already, or a Templar army. So I'm enjoying playing with the idea of creating retinues with that kind of theme. So they're not like a Holy Order, bang, here they are, but there's elements of, there's a local bishop as well who's like tending all the, a bit Cadfile-esque, if you know Cadfile, who is tending the flock, but he's not scared of getting his mace out if he has to. So it's gonna kind of be that kind of story. So yes, it's a kind of a bit of a preamble, a meandering answer, but that's the idea at the moment.
But see, that's perfect though, because I think that's what gamers need to hear, so they understand the thought process.
Yeah.
You're creating a story, and out of that, that's how you're building your retinue.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and that's the idea behind it. And also, it's allowed us to kind of get a group in, because if you think of back in those times, it was really unsafe to travel. So, it's not clear like it is now. When they were traveling from point to point, they would have to plan very carefully their routes and where they were going, and where they would stop off. So you'd have these mixed groups of people together. So you might have a knight, some merchants, some people on a pilgrimage, that kind of thing. So it's allowing us to build some really interesting groups for including in the campaign. So that's all going to be in there too.
Just my favourite forces include mainly foot soldiers, because I hate painting horses.
Very simple, George. Yeah. And
mainly sergeants, small command groups. I like lots of command groups for board control. I'm quite gamey, if you probably not pick that up. Yeah, gets quite heated with Mark. He's good King John. But yeah, I tend to have more small command groups, sergeants, men at arms, billmen, things like that, rather than the expensive knights. Numbers.
Yeah, I agree. And I think any retinue that you can tell its story.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, isn't it? And again, the rules allow you to do that. So you can even build your own knights, your own sergeants, that kind of thing, and have your own groups that you build and paint. And the idea is to make it quite a narrative setup, really. And we were when we, we've already discussed how we're going to make the campaign system work, haven't we, George? How it will work is we've structured the rules in a particular way with this one man to one figure, and building a group of warriors that go together. So the idea is like they've left their village and they're on campaign together. So it's already set up for that. And having the abilities and the traits and all of those kind of additions, we can feed that in and start to grow those units, those groups as they progress or not. They can go up. They can go up through the experience, or they can go up and gain abilities. So there's a lot of scope for campaign play. So yeah,
got some ideas that we should talk about that I think would be fun.
Let me just answer some of these questions in here. Brian Phillips says, when you buy the Barons War bundle, the book released next month, can I ask when the Barons War PDF is sent out? Straight away. So if you've ordered it and you haven't got it, that's my fault, because in the bundle I'm having to send each of the PDFs out manually. So if it's in a bundle, so if you haven't got it, let me know. If you're going to go and buy it now, I will send you the PDF once I come off here. Yeah.
Yeah, I know in the very beginning when we put the Barons War pre-order up, when they were buying a Foot North America, they weren't getting the PDF, but I quickly resolved that and figured out what the heck was going on. So if you're doing that and you still haven't gotten it, please let me know. But I think it's all.
There's a couple of others. Eduardo says, "How are you going to deal with Brexit shipments?" In the same way. If we're talking about for the next Kickstarter or this Kickstarter, if it's this Kickstarter, all the EU ones have already gone. They went before Christmas. We made sure we did that before Brexit. All of the ones afterwards are going now. The far-flung places went this week. So if you live in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, all of those what we would call rest of the world places, they've gone this week. If you're living in the US, they will go after this weekend, and then the UK will get them the weekend after. So the idea by staggering them, it's allowed us to do it this month, and they should all land at the same time. Going forwards, when it comes to Kickstarters, then we will ship them out with free Footsore still. And Footsore registered. They have a EORN number, I think it's called, which allows them to register for shipment into Europe. And we will just, maybe there's a couple of ways we can do it. We can charge more for shipment and pay the duty, or something else. I'm not quite sure. But I think the number one thing we're finding at the moment is no one really understands what's going on. And, I think we're in that initial period of flux. So I know for a fact Footsore have done everything that they can to get the stuff through. So it's just being delayed at ports and stuff at the moment. But I know that all of the paperwork is done, etc. So, I guess the only change is Europe, really, for the paperwork. It's been the same to change for everywhere else. So I think we'll wait and see. But it shouldn't really affect it. Does that make sense? I think.
Yeah.
Hold on. Any thought on illustrated heraldry lists for the period? Appreciate not strictly necessary. I'd love to do it, Rupert Negus. I think I would do two things, and I'll do these as blog posts on Warhost. I'll do one as a kind of like simple beginner's guide to heraldry. As I understand it, I have a ton of books on this, so I'll lift it and show why it's painted this color, what colors they used, all of that stuff. And then there's a bunch of they're called rolls, like the Deering roll, but they came from like 1265 onwards, which has a whole bunch of heraldry, and we could lift some of those off and start to share them if you like. Do you know what I would really like to do? I would really like to get Peter Dennis to do our own roll and get him to illustrate all of them in his style for us. So maybe I'll ask him nicely and see what he'll say.
That would be awesome.
You know, but I agree. I think it's something we should do, and we should at least do it for the most common barons and knights of the period, and then we can just add
and
to
the
it.
characters that we have already, definitely.
I think that's a good idea because I've lifted quite a few of them, and you know, there's also things like Fawkes. You know, he has his own heraldry, which is different to the Rearing Griffin, which he then had. He kind of inherited afterwards. Yeah. So we should do something about it. I think that's the right thing to do. What are the chances to incorporate some tilting into the game? I was still early in tourneys with far less gentlemanly, but still something notably enjoyable. Yeah, maybe, Joseph. I think there wasn't as much tilting in the beginning of the 13th century. I think tournaments were more mass
friendly fight. Yeah.
Yeah, mass scraps where, you know, they would fight over 5-10 mile radiuses on horseback and on foot, and they would have teams, and you know, they were like soccer, or depends where you're from, soccer or football stars of today, where they would have a team and they would be recruited into fighting for someone's tournament team. So it's very different to what it is. I mean, we could do some tournament rules where we had that, you know, where you could fight some tournaments in that, less than the tilting. But yeah, why not? You could. Do you know what? You could take the Barons War rules as is, play a scenario. We could write a scenario for a tourney, you know, and that would be pretty straightforward.
One thing you could do is just convert the points cost into a monetary value, and then each, instead of a kill, it's a capture.
Yeah.
So like your spearmen and your lower rank stuff are obviously worth less. Your knights are worth more. Whoever's got the most money at the end wins.
Yeah, we could change the structure. So you take more knights and sergeants. You know, the more types that would be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. That would be quite cool.
Maybe. Yeah, I've got some ideas. There's some ideas in there coming to that.
Well, we'll do it as a blog post on the site to see if there's anything we've missed as I go through. I did say 30 minutes, didn't I, tonight?
Yeah.
You did.
Eduardo Loras asked, as a campaign, it would be great to have wound and death system, like in between battles and stuff. We were talking about that the other day, weren't we, Andy? What we'd do.
Yes, totally. That's why when I write a game like Mortal Gods or whatever, we say they're retired. We never say anybody's dead because we're just waiting to put campaign system in. So yeah, that's what we will do. I also think if we do, well, I say when we do a campaign system, it will have a ransom rules for ransoming as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, you'll capture knights. You'll see that, you know, if you retire a knight from the battlefield, you'd have to roll to see if he was dead or if he was able to be ransomed. Because unfortunately, could turn out like the Comte de Perche at Lincoln, where someone stuck a sword through his visor, you know, instead of ransoming. So it did happen. Okay, brilliant. I think we're done.
There's one important question we missed. One Yorkshireman is worth 2 of any other knight. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, me and George would get two damage to be removed, wouldn't we, George?
Yeah.
3 if we were on horse.
So we've been talking about the Barons War rules. Thank you for taking the time to both come on live as well as listen to this as a podcast. where can they find out more about the rules? If this is the first time you haven't heard the rules, where can we hear about it from?
The rules are available at the moment to buy from. They're on pre-order, so you can pre-order them from Futsal Miniatures and Games, either in the UK or in North America. You can pre-order the printed rulebook, or which will be released in February. You can purchase the PDF that you would get now, or you could purchase a bundle, which gives both. And you get the PDF now. This is all grown out. Sorry, Tim. Go on.
You mentioned blog posts. What's the blog?
Sorry, yeah. We also, if you know me, you know I do like social media, but I know a lot of people don't, which is good too. So George and I wanted to create a hub for the Barons War, and this is on warhost.online. So it's warhost.online, and on there we've got a forum. There's a frequently asked questions bit. There's going to be a blog. There's downloads on there. So if you want some tokens to get you going, some token sheets, you can download them. There's army lists on there. There's quick reference sheets on there. We'll just keep adding and adding to that, and it's going to become a resource for the game. Really, that's the idea. Funny enough, I'm just about to release a blog post when I come off here, which I wrote today on some extra rules. So that's going to be on there.
And there's also the Facebook group.
There is the Facebook group, yes. So there's the Barons War Facebook group. So if you go and search for the Barons War, we're there.
Yep. Well, thank you guys for taking the time again to listen to us and watch us. Hopefully we have answered the questions that you have at the moment. I'm sure we've missed some, but feel free always to send us emails or post questions in the group in the forum, and then we'll address those. So hopefully everyone has a great weekend and enjoy the hobby.
And stay safe.
Yep, stay safe. Thanks a lot.